Hi, my name is Kelly Horvath, and I have been working on Revit furniture design. My interest in developing my skills in Revit evolved from a necessity I knew would be coming from my studio. I'm in an interior design studio for the first time, and I knew this would present its own challenges, especially in regards to my furniture building skills in Revit. So in order to make a better product for both classes, I decided to combine my interests. This first case study, the Shanghai Tower, was the last of a three-building project designed by Gensler. It is currently the tallest building in Shanghai at 632 meters, and the design itself rotates up 120 degrees to the top of the tower. There are 127 floors in the building with ranges of retail space, a luxury hotel, and more. It also has certifications like LEED Platinum and China Green Building 3-star. This project is a personal favorite that I've been following since sophomore year. So Reinventing Paris is a series of 15 Parisian typologies combined together to create one larger volumetric space. And not only did they create one volumetric space, but they actually did a generative design in order to create the final that you see here. And they were combined together to reflect the history and heritage of Paris, potentially for the Olympic Games. This last case study is an exploration as Disney expands its empire and what kind of software it uses. So Disney actually uses BIM softwares to create new attractions that are coming to the park. They have used it in designs such as Galaxy's Edge in Florida and Avengers Campus in California. But they actually also used it to plan Disneyland Shanghai in its entirety at an urban planning scale. So this project began with the question of how to design an organically shaped table in Revit. This is a question I had because I knew I wanted to create a custom piece of furniture for the ideal dining room project in my studio, and I knew I wanted to design a table that fit the chef and the experience I was trying to create in the room. So in order to do this, I needed to upgrade my skills of furniture design in Revit. So as I was taking the classes in order to update my furniture building skills in Revit, I was actually designing the table by hand with a series of sketches to see what shape fit the space and what form I would want to create. Once I settled on this form for the tabletop, I decided to start working in section to think about how the table itself would actually work. I knew this would be a challenge once I decided on a material for the top. I chose backlit onyx, and I would have to house the lighting units somewhere in the table. So once I had that initial design, I tried to lightly follow that pattern and create a form in Revit. And I started at a large scale on a floor plan just to see how it would work and if I could get the forms to come together. After that initial rough sketch, I began to actually scale the drawing within the building. And once I was happy with the top of the table, again, I switched to the bottom of the table and how to make it change shapes. And in order to do this, I needed to use the blending tool in Revit, but it still was really difficult to see where the project was actually curving, where it was changing, and this might have been due to my knowledge of the graphics or to a number of other things. But looking in plan, the table changed enough that I thought I was meeting the 27 inches required for ADA, but it turns out that it was a bit more difficult than that, and I needed to do more studying. Once I had finished the project for the ideal dining room, I knew I still wanted to do a study of whether or not the table was ADA accessible as well as functionally beautiful. And in order to do this, I took the drawings from the ideal dining room and I created a laser cut table in order to do this study and exploration. In order to make the model, I took drawings from the previous ideal dining room and I laser cut a series of slabs which I stacked together to make the model a representation of what the table would look like at 1/8 scale. At this scale, I was able to study the base and how it extruded, and I was able to see that I only really had 2 to 3 positions that were entirely ADA accessible, and I wanted to make the whole table accessible. So in my final design for the restaurant, I not only expanded the tabletop in order to give more depth, but I also changed the style of the base. I did a little bit more research and realized that the lighting components didn't need to be all that large to backlight the onyx, and I now have between 6 and 8 spots that are ADA accessible. Looking back at the project, I'm a little bit disappointed that I wasn't able to make the entire table ADA accessible. And I realize this is due to the initial form that I created that not only represented the chef, but worked well with the experience I was trying to create in the dining room. And so in order to actually recreate and change the space, I would have to entirely redesign the table, which I think is a possibility, but due to the difficulties I've already had with designing the table, I don't know if I will have the time in the final project, but it also helps me realize this is something that I am passionate about, and I want to make sure that everything I design is more accessible to the world. So it is definitely something that I will take with me and carry through into my final project.